Hey, one and all, it's your pal Drew Geraci, and I've got a real treat for you this episode. I was thumbing through this book and I realized the title of the issue was based on a song. And I thought of other books that I have that did the same thing where writers would just, they had their story, but then they had a rock song that kind of tied into it and it was kind of cool. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. Love his cover. Al Milgrom, one of his best. He's real touch and go sometimes, but separate overlays with acetate, as well as, and the Hulk and this other stuff shows up by a combination of different colors like magenta and cyan and all that stuff. So this episode here, it shows a downtrodden town in anywhere USA, like just in the sticks, where people were dissatisfied with their lot in life. But then a rainbow shows up, and this one guy comes up. He's got gold skin. He promises them their dreams. He goes, "Well, teacher, how am I doing?" Well, it turns out this guy is Glorian, who appeared only one other time prior in Hulk 190. 190 and 191, he was a guy who offered dreams to people, but there was a catch, and I don't recall it at the moment, but it's not germane to what's going on. Shaper of Worlds is working with him. Shaper of Worlds is an interesting character, but I like on Hulk it's okay, but I always thought somebody like Doctor Strange or whoever would be a better foil for this guy. So it's my daydreams. Of course, it's called "What a Day for a Daydream" with apologies to Loving Spoonful. And it's a great song. It's from the 60s. I really recommend, make yourself a playlist of some of these songs and you'll get a kick out of it. So, see where I'm going with this? Yeah. So, I lost my place here. I'm just going to jump. Hang on, everybody. Okay, I found it. It's the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon, which a character that just kind of was in limbo shortly after this, except for a 4-issue miniseries written by creator Bill Mantlo and Mike Mignola. Beautiful artwork. And however, the character and the other the side characters are nothing like what was in the movies. But he actually appeared one at a time, and it was a black and white Marvel magazine, Marvel Preview, and designed by Keith Giffen, and I can't remember, maybe Bill Mantlo wrote it as well. So Rocket Raccoon became a very famous household name. And Bill Mantlo decides now somewhere in the black holes of Sirius Major there lived a young boy named Rocket Raccoon, from the great Beatles song, of course. The Paul McCartney song. Paul McCartney. Okay. Alright, enough sounding like a moron. Okay. This features a group called the Rangers, who it's an impromptu group. The Hulk's in the Southwest. People were contacting, the Teen Brigade that Rick Jones has, and all of a sudden all these secondary characters show up. Knight Rider was a pretty big character back in the day. Red Wolf, he had a short-lived miniseries, first appeared in the Avengers. And Firebird, she appeared, gosh, I gotta think where she appeared before, but maybe I think her debut in Texas Twister. He came from Fantastic Four 177. He was going to join the Frightful Four, but it just wasn't his thing. And Shooting Star was new at this issue, so if Shooting Star gets her own movie or something, you gotta say this, it'll be worth a lot of money. So here's some more Audacity by Bill Mantlo. I love it. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need from the Rolling Stones. And the great title is there because they were trying to summon the Avengers, and they're in Southwest, and the Avengers were not available. So these separate characters showed up and decided, hey, we'll be a team. So, man, I love that. Pretty spiffy. And these are only some of the examples. I'm sorry, I keep banging into my friggin' there. Iceman, I showed a preview of the first issue in my other channel, Random Comics from my spinner rack, and it's a really enjoyable. It's J.M. DeMatteis and Alan Kupperberg with ink by Mark Gustovich. It's a good pairing. Instant Karma, baby. John Lennon song from 1974 or 73, I can't remember. But that's J.M. DeMatteis wearing his Beatles influence on his sleeve, and rightfully so. And here we go, issue 102. Defenders is Mind Games, which came out about the same time. I think Mind Games came out the year after that other song I just mentioned, which I blanked out on. Here we go, Mind Games. I ain't even going to try and sing it. Because I don't have the... Nobody sang like John Lennon. Okay, well, this... Oh, by the way, on Marvel Masterworks, a little aside here. They've discontinued the Marvel Masterworks, and I totally understand why. Because they were kind of getting way into not great territory, like some of the bigger books have done okay, but there were some books that were real, like the West Coast Avengers. I don't think they, or Vision and Scarlet Witch from 1986. I don't think they were Marvel Masterworks worthy. When there's other earlier books that could probably use it, the treatment, like whether it's the Invaders or What If, or even Supervillain Team Up. But they discontinued it. I think it's a simple matter of economics. Like those thick trade paperbacks, they're epic collections, which are wildly popular because you get a big, thick book for, now it's gone up to like $54, but you get a lot more. And this is a retail $75, and you get a lot less. You'll get the nice hardcover, and they do art reconstruction on some of the pages that printed poorly. But, like with West Coast Avengers, which I like, you had Al Milgrom and Joe Sinnott doing the art, and that's real. It's not that nuanced. It's bold, and it's not like finding photo stats of like a Submariner story from 1944. But I think it was just economics, because the omnibuses, you could buy them almost the same amount, the same price. I saw a couple omnibuses that I had already that were like $40 on sale. So, but it was okay. Like I said, they were kind of getting into books that were not necessarily Masterworks worthy. So, okay. He's got no fingernails. Here we go. Celluloid Heroes. Now, that's probably my favorite song by the Kinks, and it actually got played a lot in the 70s. And in the 70s, it was kind of like the Wild West with FM radio. They would play album tracks. They weren't stuck with like the top 40. They would just really expose you to a lot of cool songs. Celluloid Heroes by the Kinks came out in 74, I think, with the album called Everyone's in Showbiz. Now, as far as I just think it's an injustice that the Kinks don't get any love. I mean, they were there with the Stones and the Beatles, and they held their own. They even knocked the Beatles out in the top 5 on occasion. And people always know them from You Really Got Me or Come Dancing. And it's as if no other song by them exists. And they have a rich catalog. And people kind of think of Come Dancing and they're like, that's kind of, polka-ish, kind of cutesy. But they really had, they were deeply influential in the 60s. And like 3 years prior to Come Dancing, they had a live album. They were an arena rock band, and they had a single that was a live version of Lola, which came out in 1968. So, they were a hard rocking band. It's just that one song that is great. It takes so many twists and turns, Come Dancing, but people seem to have forgot, all the other songs. And I'm a huge Kinks fan. Okay, this is Gary Friedrich, who got into Marvel as a pal. I think he was from Missouri, as was Roy Thomas. And Roy Thomas says, "Hey, I need writers. Come on over. A Day in the Life." Now, this has been used a lot. It was, of course, the Lennon McCartney song, last song on Sgt. Pepper, where Lennon wrote the guts of it, and then there was a middle part where McCartney added a nice chunk of the song, and it's just one of the best songs ever in pop music. So, and then you can play with the graphics. This title has been used so much since, but this came out in '69, so maybe it was the first. I don't know. Now we get from the obvious to the oddball. So the thing is turned back to Ben Grimm again, and he's happy, but then he's been replaced by Power Man, and he thinks it's just like, he just thinks it's trivial that they hired some, especially because Cage, he gets hired for money because he has to support himself. He has this apartment above a movie theater, and he has no other means of income, so he's a hero for hire. And Fantastic Four Inc., which is something Reed established earlier, like a year or two earlier, requires that the team members, all four, have to have superpowers. And so they got Luke Cage, and at first Ben was really pissed off about it, but then he had a sense of acceptance later on, and Luke Cage didn't stick around that long anyway. So here's a wild title. Where have all the powers gone? Man, this printed really shitty. There we go. It looks much better in Masterwork, but I can't find it. Or it's in my stack of stuff. Where have all the powers gone? Now, you're probably saying, what the hell does that even mean? Well, it's reference to an old folk song. It was like, where have all the flowers gone? Long time after. Damn, I got a golden voice, don't I? But yeah, it was on one of these KTEL, like these album compilations that you would see on the UHF channel. Ask your grandparents what a UHF channel was before cable. But they would advertise a collection of different songs by different artists, and you always heard this. And it's so audacious, and I love it. I'm sure a younger readers would be like, what the? So, Mark Gruenwald, the third omnibus of his Cap is coming out, and it's so great. His stuff is just really good, but I like the epics, but I can't upgrade everything to omnibus because, it adds up. I'm just a working Joe. So, now this one may be a stretch. Okay, maybe I'm full of shit. This Gun's for Hire. Now, I'm kind of thinking Dancing in the Dark from Bruce Springsteen, because he uses that line. And, this gun's for hire, la 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 la, dancing in the dark. Burr, 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 burr. And it did come out afterwards. So, that may be a stretch, okay? I accept that. So, we go to the previous epic, or two previous epics. Now, this is written by Mike Carlin and edited by Mark Gruenwald, and by 306, they switch places. And that's when Gruenwald does 100 issues in a row. So, Undercover of the Night, that was at the time, that was the Rolling Stones single that got a lot of airplay on MTV, and it was very much of its time. It's produced in a very, I don't know, like a very odd way that's not becoming of the Stones. A lot of people point at Undercover of the Night, the album and the songs, as kind of like a low point, because Mick was pursuing a solo career, and the next album Keith did the most on, which I can't recall, but there you go, Undercover of the Night. And hold on a second, hang on everybody, I know there's something else. Bear with me a second. Here, just take this cool cover in, this Cool King cover in. Now I'm sidestepping a touch with this, so I will go back and continue with the Gruenwald work. So that was Carlin. And Stop Making Sense, with apologies to David Byrne of Talking Heads. And great song, great live album, great what do you call it? Great movie. And then Creatures of Love, another Talking Heads song, which I understand Grunwald was huge on Talking Heads, which is pretty cool. Creatures of Love was a song off of Little Creatures, which came out about 1986 or so. It was a more pop-oriented version of Talking Heads, but still pretty neat. Still pretty neat. Now, let's go into this. This one here is kind of weird. It's kind of... I've shown this individual issue on my other channel, but Rocky Mountain By. I don't know why Steve Englehart decided to use that pun. It's Rocky Mountain High was a song by John Denver, who was huge in the mid-70s. He had his own TV show. He had a ton of hits, like sort of country pop hits. Country Roads Take Me Home to the Place Where West Virginia. So, but that's another audacious title. So, and now this may be a stretch as well, but there's a story called Lost in Space Time, which was like a 7 or 8 parter. This one's called Time for Every Purpose Under Heaven, and that is a term used in the Bible, but I first knew of it from the Byrds. What's his name? Not Kevin McGuire. Roger McGuinn, who wrote the songs for the Byrds, and he took those phrases from the Bible and made them into a pop song that's just huge. It was huge, and it's a great song. It's got these great jangly guitars that Roger McGuinn would be known for. And this is another great bird. People talk about the Steve Gerber era was great, but David Anthony Kraft, he really did a great follow-up. Now, Night Moves, after the Bob Seger song, which came out about that time, and it was a big hit that it got a lot of prominent airplay for a better part of a year, because Bob Seger was just blowing up. All his stuff was just really getting huge, and it's a sensational song that stands the test of time. And I don't even know why it's called that. I think maybe because Moon Knight's in it. No? Hold on. I don't know. It's like a thin premise, but who cares? It's still a great song. It's a great book. Now David Anthony Kraft really threw in a lot of rock star references, or rock references, dedicated to Neil, Geddy, and Alex of Rush. So they were on top of the world at the time too. And later on, I don't really have this nearby, but later on, both David Anthony Kraft and Ed Hannigan would do a story based on a Blue Oyster Cult album, which I only know a couple of their hits. I don't know the whole lore, but I remember that was a point where I kind of tapped out because it was really heavy on it was hard to read. It got really dense, not much happened, and I think they were following a narrative that Blue Oyster Cult established in this one album. And even though Ed Hannigan's art was gorgeous, I just kind of... And then Ed didn't stay around too long, I don't think. But anyway, that's all I have at my disposal right now. I've had, what is that, like a dozen or 15 of these things? But I'll tell you what, tell me how you like the episode, A, and if you can think of any other comic book story titles that have rock and roll bands in them, songs, post them below. I'd love to see it. I only threw this together like an hour ago. I'm totally, I love it. I love it. That's what makes comics great. That's what makes rock and roll great. And anyway, I wish you all well, and leave comments below. Please tell me. And also double check if you're still subscribed and you're getting notifications, because other bigger sites like mine, like the Professor of Rock, he's been losing some subscribers just because YouTube is just The algorithm just likes to screw with you. So anyway, and then leave comments below if you think of more, and or if this brings back memories. So wishing you the very best, everybody. Talk to you later.